Welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, a chill podcast talking about video games. With your hosts, me, Deanna,
And me, David.
What would you like to talk about this week?
Sorry, I had a brain fart. How about I ask you a question?
Sure.
What were you just playing with American Truck Simulator that you were super excited about?
Okay, fine. I guess I'll be the first one to go this week.
Well, yeah, because I know you were super excited about this update, but
yes,
when I just casually overhearing your gameplay, I hear a lot of angry noises.
I wouldn't call it angry, frustrated. Yes. Okay, so the update that came with 1.5 whatever is the driving academy for both American and European Truck Simulator.
Okay.
And as they have to put up, I'm sure for legal reasons, every time you start up the driving academy, it says this is not an actual driving academy. If you want to learn how to drive trucks in real life, you have to go to an actual one. This is not real training.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'm just saying, every time you start driving academy, whether are just picking up from what you've played earlier, it's always going to say that to cover their ass.
That's weird, but sure.
Well, they don't want people to think, oh, I can buy...
Will anyone really think that? When I played through Gran Turismo and I got my license in Gran Turismo, I didn't think, well, I'm ready to go drive in the real world.
I mean, hopefully not, but at the same time, don't they have, the joke of,
Was there a thing when you played Trauma Surgeon where it's when you're scooping out these little alien bugs from these patients,
no,
you are not a real doctor?
No, because no one actually has alien bugs inside of them. I think it's just because it's a simulator, it's vaguely realistic, they're giving you actual instructions that you probably get at an actual driving academy. Isn't there the joke that an irons say not to use it while wearing your clothing? I mean, there's some stupid things that companies have to put on to cover their asses because someone has been dumb enough to do it.
Anyway, so is this something you don't have to do this to play the game, right?
No. This is completely optional. If you want to just start the career mode, you just go straight into career mode.
You can just go in without any training or license.
Yes, because it's fake.
Because all that matters...
And there's never well, I can't say if there's never pedestrians. Maybe they've had people on the sidewalk, but there's no one crossing the road or anything.
That's something I've never thought about in those games, now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, there's people on the side, but they don't move.
Are they kind of
I think the only people I've seen move, quote unquote, is skaters in a skate park. But I mean, that's still on rails.
I guess it doesn't really matter. But I was thinking, I know obviously they wouldn't do something like GTA where you could just mow down people and ragdoll them.
No.
But they could do something like Crazy Taxi where you'll never hit the people, but they'll run away.
No, they don't run away either. They just kind of stand there. They move a little bit, but they're basically static objects.
Anyway, sorry for interrupting you every time. It's just...
No, it's fine. I think it adds a little bit more to the conversation, honestly.
Yeah, it's just
because it makes me think about something.
This feature, I like these truck simulator games, but this particular feature to me seems almost a little boring, in my opinion.
It depends on how simulator you want to get into it. But it does try and... You go in, or at least I go in, seeing how much of my skill I can actually... Because, I play the game, but even if I bump something light, or either it wouldn't count at all, or it would count a little bit, so I just lose a little bit of money or something.
It'd be cool if doing this unlocked, a harder version of the game where, stuff like speeding and bumping into other people or whatever would cost you a lot more money.
Well, if you bump a car, it will give you a ticket.
Yeah, but it's if you're negligible, right?
Well, not only that, but it's also if you happen to hit a telephone pole or something, I don't think you get knocked points for that or anything.
Hear me out for a second.
Okay, sure.
This is when you play a horror game, and I know you don't play many, but when you're playing a survival horror game or a game where death matters and it's scary, even Dark Souls to an extent, you're going through these dungeons and every little move you make can cost you minutes, or back in the old days, even hours of gameplay. Imagine I gotta be careful, every movement counts, I gotta be on my toes. What if they brought something like that to the truck simulator game? Because driving in real life is basically that all the time.
I mean, sometimes I've had anxiety about making deliveries or making a certain turn.
It's a silly thought, obviously, because I mean, games are supposed to be fun.
Maybe it's not like horror, but you know, it's still
But
scary.
I remember when I would drive for real, and I mean, obviously we live car free now, thankfully. But back when I used to have to drive back in Florida, it is terrifying because like anytime you see a cop car, like my eyes would like, I just dart to the speedometer. Be like, am I speeding? Did I just have a brain fart for a couple seconds and I'm gonna lose like $100-$200 because I just was zoning out and going a little too fast?
And that's not even like the scariest thing because like, yeah, losing money does obviously suck, but God forbid you get into an accident.
Yeah.
A serious injury.
And then like the stress of that, like getting into a collision is just your whole day or week could be just ruined.
Or worse, yeah.
But in like Truck Simulator, it's like, oh, I just rammed into this guy's sedan and probably paralyzed his entire family. Oh, it's just, I don't know, 5% of my paycheck. I'm not even going to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they can only simulate it to a certain degree. You could
to stay fun, yeah.
Yeah. You could probably add mods that, like, if you bump a car, it's going to take 50% of your paycheck or something.
Super hardcore mode.
Or I don't know if there's one where it will just stop the entire game itself and you get sent elsewhere to start a new job or something.
Oh my god, yeah.
But I mean, they can only get so crazy. Like, you're not going to injure other people in a car. There's not going to be a kid running across the street.
I guess the only reason I bring that up, and I know I'm sorry for being dumb about this, but like when the consequences are so low in the game, it almost feels like I don't really need to worry about the proper driving techniques or...
No, I mean, you don't have to, obviously, because, I mean, we've seen other YouTubers and they're just doing the stupidest shit because it doesn't really matter.
So in that case, it feels like, then why should you worry about this training stuff? I guess it's just for fun.
In a sense, yeah, it's just seeing, like, trying to build up my own personal skills of how I'm going to get this tractor and this trailer around this hairpin turn. And that's basically what I was doing a couple of days ago when I first started, and then what I was doing like an hour before this.
Do you get anything for beating these challenges?
The only thing you quote-unquote get, at least that I've seen now, is just achievements.
Oh, no.
But it doesn't... It's just... I mean, what else would you expect? Like, it isn't connected to a career.
It could be, though. Like, think about what if, like...
Maybe in the future. I mean, this is the first update. There's two other sections they haven't included
I know.
yet,
I'm being really, really pedantic and stupid about this.
It's fine. We can talk about it.
It would be kind of cool if maybe some of the talent, the level up, when you level up, you get to pick your talents or skill points or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And, like, one of them, for example, is, like, hazardous materials.
Yeah.
What if, like, hazardous materials, that whole tree was locked behind being able to pass these tests?
That would be cool. That would be fair.
That would give you, like, an incentive. Like, I'm going to get good. I'm going to learn how to do this properly and prove that I am a safe enough driver to be able to transport all these radioactive barrels down, San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could be an update in the future. Like... You could start a career and you don't have to play with that on. But you could also choose to start a new career and you have to pass all these driving tests. And then later down the road, when you start getting those special licenses, then you'd have to do other tests or something. That would be cool, but I don't know exactly their entire idea for this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking out loud, like, what it could be.
No, I mean, that's fine.
Because... Okay, thinking back to another game, did Simcopter have... No, it didn't have any tests, did it? I could have sworn there was a game I played that was like this, where you...
That would have been cool, though.
You had to pass certain tests or whatever, and it's almost like a tutorial, where like...
Was it Microsoft Flight Simulator? Because I know they sort of had...
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't they?
You could choose to do that.
It wasn't mandatory, yeah. Because, I mean, that game didn't really have missions to begin with, but its tutorial was set up in, like, a training way, like you were on with the training pilot, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So that was pretty nice, too. And I did kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, me too,
I think
actually.
I don't know exactly how far I got on those training missions, or whatever you want to call them. I think I got stuck at trying to land, but then getting called off and having to go back into the formation. I think it was the formation of going around an airport while you're waiting for clearance or something. But anyways, what I did want to kind of talk about before was that the first time I tried this, I was having a lot of issues, even if you will say with just learning how to maneuver the tractor. Because it has been so long since I've played this game, and I'm like, okay, I'll just set up the input wizard, as they call it, and go through that. Choosing the semi-automatic, or whatever the first choice was not what I had originally played on back many, many months ago. What I was supposed to choose was the second level, where you have to, it's not quite as much shifting. You can shift the gears up and down, but it's not to the extent of if you have a wheel with an actual shift gear.
Mm-hmm.
You can just use one button to shift up and one button to shift down.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant when I pushed the trigger button to go forward, I could then shift down, and then shift down enough to go into reverse, and then use that same button to start reversing, and then go shift back up and start going forward, and stuff like that. What was screwing me up in the first 2 chapters, if you will, of this training section was that because I picked the wrong option for my controller, or how I like my controller, what was happening is you would use the right trigger to go forward. The left trigger would, to some extent, stop it, but then it would immediately start rolling into backwards.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
So
I don't like that either.
I was having such a tough time on these very simple courses because I was trying to stop, and my muscle memory was hitting the brake button.
Yeah.
But that brake button was sending me backwards.
See, I don't...
So I was constantly trying to hit the brake, and it was just shooting me backwards, and obviously I would fail the test because I'm fucking running over all the cones.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's not
why
good.
is this so hard? And then it finally hit me a couple of days after playing this. I'm like, wait a minute, I remember having to shift up and down into going forward or neutral or going back.
Yeah.
That's why I was fucking up.
So it was hitting the brakes for too long puts you like into automatic reverse mode.
Yes.
And
it was
that's
so bad.
That's
But the thing is that that's just one of the options. I was dumb and forgot which option I had originally chosen. And it put me into that. And that's why I was failing all these tests. And I was like, I feel like I wasn't this bad when I played
That doesn't
earlier.
make sense though, because like granted, I don't know, maybe I just know when I was playing the truck simulator, like when you stop at a stoplight, for example, you have to hold down the brake because a truck will idle and start going if you don't, right?
It will. Well, it depends. If you're on flat ground, you're probably safe. But yeah, if you're like on a hill, you'll either start going down the hill, or the opposite, you'll start rolling backwards.
What does a person that's playing with that mode on do? Because like,
I don't know, because I'm not going to continue that mode. I am never going back to that. That would be horrific.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. It should always be you should have to actively shift into reverse to go to reverse.
Yeah, because like the game knows I'm playing with a controller. Although I can access keyboard controls for various things because there's just so many controls you can put on. But it should know that if I'm working with the 2 trigger buttons and all these other buttons, that shifting should be automatic. But it's fine. I fixed it. And I went through the trailer training. So instead of just having the tractor for the first 2 chapters, now I'm putting on the trailer, actually. And I'm going through and learning, how to take hairpin turns and making a 90-degree turn and all this stuff. But I did finally get to the last test, I guess, of the 3rd chapter. And I'm kind of having a very hard time at certain parts of this course. Which I guess it's the advanced course, so okay, it's going to. The interesting idea is, like, if this was in real life, how many times could I take this test? Like, if I failed it 50 times or something, would they just say, okay, you're not allowed to drive? Like, I don't understand how testing like that works, but...
Well, I failed my driving test the first time. I had to take it a second time to pass.
Yeah, but,
know
failing
if there's a
once
limit.
wouldn't be the worst thing, but...
It's just not the same day, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. It's always that fucking, like, back tire. Regardless of which side it seems to be, I'm having a hard time of trying to get the positioning right, and it'll always just, like, gently clip the barrier. And I'm like, oh, fungu. But otherwise, so I'm just slowly making my way through there, and it's frustrating to some degree, but, you know, I keep learning a little bit more of... Because I still have to get used to how big the truck is. And, like, even outside my cabin, I have, like, 6 mirrors to work with. But I still can't see how far my front end is to, like, the cones or the barriers or whatnot. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that, obviously, in real life, you would have depth perception. Whereas in this...
I'm assuming, yes, but...
You're using a 2D screen, and yeah, stuff like that is a bit harder.
Although I think the game might actually have VR options, so
yeah.
It would be interesting to see what kind of difference that would make, if possible.
That's probably one of the few games I could probably try to play in VR.
Yeah, because you're not usually moving your head all that much. I mean...
To look when you're turning and stuff, yeah.
But that would be interesting.
I feel like most games, if I tried in VR, I'd probably get sick, but somehow Truck Sim would be a game that I would definitely try.
Well, I would hope so, because it's basically just driving, and you've driven before, so...
Yeah.
I'm assuming driving doesn't give you sickness.
No.
Motion sickness or anything.
No. There's something about being in control. It's like your body anticipates the movements because you are making it happen.
I mean, kind of like the same idea as if you watch someone trying to play VR and you're watching from their view or whatever. They're all over the place. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this because it's like, it's too... It doesn't make me sick, but it's just like, it's too much.
This is a weird story, but when I was a teenager, my cousin married an Air Forceman. And one time he invited me and one of my cousins out to ride in a little plane. I guess it was like a little Cessna. And me being the polite little boy was like, oh, you sit in the front with him, to my female cousin. And I was getting airsick in that little plane. So he's like, well, if you want, you know, if you're up here and you got your hands on the spare wheel, like there's something about that can help with the motion sickness.
Did it?
Well, I got too motion sick, so we ended up, you know, going home early, so I didn't even get to try it, but I wish I would have. But yeah, even then, it's like apparently when you're flying, like when you're actively flying, you get less motion sick than like if you're not. And you can feel that even, well, maybe not you, but some people can feel that even when they're in like a car with other people. Like I know if I'm in a passenger seat and I'm in the back seat or something, depending on the traffic or how we're going or just, I don't know, the freaking random mood of my body, I can get motion sick from just being in the car sometimes. But
that's interesting. Like, yeah, I don't understand how that works, as I've never gotten motion sickness, whether it's in a car, in the passenger seat, or in an airplane, because I've been in mostly like, you know, the big regular airlines and stuff, although I guess the medium airlines, not the super jumbo jets. But I've also been in a little Cessna like once when I was a kid, because Civil Air Patrol. And I guess one of the kids was getting some training, and then there was 2 of us in the back.
That's cool.
It was okay, I guess. The only thing that kind of sucked was I was a little too short to see well over the back window. So I could only see like half part or whatever. That kind of sucked. I never got motion sick from that. I never got motion sick from like going on a boat or anything.
Oh, I got motion sick on a boat.
But when I'm in a car and we head out onto the highway, I am scared shitless. And that's why I don't drive, because I will get so anxiety driven that I will just like put my head down and not look to see what's around us. And obviously that's not good for driving, so I don't drive.
Oh, we don't need to drive where we live.
What were we talking about? How about you go into your game? Because my game just went into this fiasco. So.
I don't know. I don't know how we got into motion sickness. It's probably because I interrupted you in a dumb way. Oh, we were talking about VR. But anyway, I don't know. I guess that's Truck Simulator and its new update, huh?
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it, even though some people are like, what the fuck? Why is this enjoyable for you?
You know what I want to try? I want to get snow runners.
Really?
Yeah, I liked was it Mud Runner?
Runner.
Snow Runner is just like...
that, but snow.
Well, and like a couple generations later, so like the game looks better.
Well, okay.
And they've also they're releasing a new game soon. I should have shown you this trailer, but I forgot to. The people that make SnowRunner are making a new game.
Well,
So
we
imagine
got mud, we got snow, water.
now it's going to be about like this town that got hit by a disaster, and like you're helping to rebuild it.
Ooh.
And like you have the mud runner kind of and snow runner kind of thing where you're going through rough terrain.
Yeah.
But also later on you're like putting down asphalt and using the steamrollers and like
Oh, shit,
using
that's
construction
cool.
equipment. So that looked really neat. So
Okay, you definitely should have shown me that.
I didn't even think about it. I didn't think I was even going to bring it up, but
Wow,
talking about
rude.
trucks and stuff, like, oh yeah, there was that one thing. But that's what made me want to try SnowRunners because I haven't played that one yet.
Oddly enough, I didn't really get into either Mud Runners or Snow Runners. I forget if we did the demo for Snow Runners or not.
I think we got Mud Runners for free on Epic years ago. I don't think
Okay.
SnowRunners has ever been free on anything yet.
I didn't really enjoy that as much because there's like, I don't know, there's something, I know there's technical aspects to Truck Simulator, but there was almost too much micromanaging in Mud Runners because you gotta make sure that the battery doesn't run out, you gotta make sure you got enough gas, but, well, I mean, you do that in Truck Simulator too. I don't know, there was something to, maybe because it was just so fucking slow.
Well, it's slow and it's very rural, whereas like in Truck Sim, you get the highways, so you kind of get to zone out and just have that zen of just driving
Well, I
down a
don't mind
line.
the rural parts because they're, especially.
Well, that's why it's
when
slow,
you-
because it's all muddy.
Well, okay, I guess I mean rural in the sense of like the Pacific Northwest, and
gotcha.
there are things that stops will you'll make deliveries to that are on rough road. It's just not that rough road.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like going through like a muddy forest versus a little bit of dirt that a semi truck can go down.
Yeah.
So is that all you had to talk about as far as anything you've played this week or wanted to talk about?
Yeah, basically, because I had a long week of the dog, so I didn't get much gaming in.
Oh yeah, taking care of dogs.
Yeah, and that would be a completely different discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really get to play Silent Hill yet. We'll play Silent Hill at some point. Anyway, so what did I do? Well, I did something that you probably don't care about. But
More Pokemans?
well, yeah, I did play more of that, but that's not what I was going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I could, but I won't. It's still good. I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying, okay, just as a refresher, Pokemon Ash and Frost. The game where you're kind of like a detective and I think he's like in his 30s or something, late 30s. It's just a nice change of pace. The stories and the characters and the music is all good. I really enjoy it, but I am getting to the point where it's like I want to see more of the stories and the characters interacting, but
Is it just dragging on too long?
it's just Pokemon in general is like kind of boring me. Like,
Poor you.
like one of the last things we did is like, oh, we got to sneak onto this cruise ship because they're auctioning off stolen Pokemon or whatever. And we got to get you a disguise so everyone's dressed up as different Pokemon, right?
Oh boy. Do you get to pick?
No, because there's very specific rules about like, oh, this is your name, so you have to pick this type, and this is your profession, so it's got to be this certain type of Pokemon. Anyway, I ended up having to be Espeon. And
You don't like Espeon.
and my partner in crime was I forget the name of the cat. It's a cat Pokemon, a purple cat Pokemon, not Pugly. There's so many purple cats in Pokemon, isn't there?
Is it the like thin one before it?
It's got like leopard spots.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I don't know the name.
So he had to be that, and so like we were like infiltrating this boat for stolen Pokemon and stuff, and there were so many tough battles. And they did, a lot of times when you're playing these Pokemon games and you have like you're forced into having double battles with another NPC.
Yeah.
The NPC will just heal you all the time, and
Well,
it makes
that's
it
convenient.
really easy. Well, in this time, he was like, just so you know, I don't have enough stuff to keep your Pokemon healed. So I'm like, okay. And then it turns out because we're on this boat run by run by these mobsters that are selling Pokemon, they do have a Pokemon Center, but it ain't free.
Oof.
So it's like if you want to use it, you have to pay money, and I'm like, I can't afford visiting this too many times. I think I had enough money to visit it maybe like 4 or 5 times. Thankfully, I only ended up using it once because I used my items instead.
And you're not allowed to get off the boat.
No, not during that situation, during that little scenario. So it was pretty tense, and there was a lot of tough battles, but I got through it, and we ran into some interesting stuff, which I wish I could talk about, but I'm not going to spoil that game, because if you haven't and you want a new Pokemon experience, I still think Pokemon Ash and Frost is really, really good. Especially if you... I'm playing on easy because I mean, I don't really care too much about being a sweaty tryhard.
Yeah, you said that last time.
But if you really want to go crazy and super try hard, play it on normal or play it on hard. I can't imagine. Even on easy, I'm just like, wow, I'm just barely getting through it. Anyway, it's good. Play it if you want. What I really wanted to talk about was a little series that I know you don't like because last time it was brought up, you made a disparaging comment.
Oh, Final Fantasy?
Yeah. Final Fantasy V. So, Final Fantasy V, just a quick recap because this is not technically the thing I'm going to talk about. Final Fantasy V is a game on the Super Nintendo, and you control these 4 characters: Bartz, Lena, Ferris, which is like a pirate, and Galuf, right?
Okay.
But the thing about this, it's I think it's the 3rd game where there's job classes. In the first game, you pick from the beginning of the game, you pick 4 classes. Like, oh, I want the fighter and white mage, black mage, whatever.
Right.
In Final Fantasy 3, you can pick your classes and then change them as you play through the game.
Okay.
So it's more flexible. Final Fantasy V is like that, except they added a whole bunch of more classes, and it's even more flexible. It's honestly like...
Is it almost too much?
No, I love it.
Okay.
I love Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy Tactics. I think are some of my favorite Final Fantasies, just because of how customizable you can get with the jobs. Because like the previous game in 3, you can like pick a job and play as that job. But in this one, you can really customize things. Like, oh, I'm gonna level up my white mage for a while and learn white magic, and then I don't know, maybe I want to switch over to warrior, but I'm gonna let them still use white magic or whatever. And you can mix and match.
Okay.
Right. So it's really cool. It's very deep mechanically, but story-wise, it's really lighthearted, goofy, slapstick even.
Now, I know this is a pretty old game.
Super Nintendo, yeah.
So, I'm curious as to why you decided to pick this up again? Or is this a fan game?
Well, no, I haven't picked up Final Fantasy V again. In fact, I haven't played any Final Fantasy. But I'll tell you why in a second.
Okay.
So, I did play Final Fantasy V a while back, and I've beat it. It's not the story again. It's goofy as hell. I love it because it's goofy. There's a lot of slapstick and a lot of laugh out loud moments. And I love that the sprites have like their, when they're very expressive. When something goofy happens or surprising, they'll make little expressions and their eyes will bug out. It's great. But the final super evil bad guy of Final Fantasy V is a sentient tree monster come alive who hates what people have done to the world and he wants to kill everything, right?
Yeah, that seems fair.
And his name is X-Death.
X-Death?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of dumb.
It is. It's really dumb, but in like in a fun way. I don't care that it's dumb because it's dumb in a fun way.
Like, his motivation is fine, I get it, but the name is just like, oof.
It's funny because like he is like a tree. And at one point you think you beat him, and then like you go to talk to this turtle sage, right? And he like pops out of one of your characters, and he's like, haha, I tricked you. I transformed into a splinter and hitched a ride here.
Oh my god.
And then he like fights the turtle in like a Dragon Ball Z fight where they're like bouncing off each other, flying across the screen.
Oh, okay.
It's just goofy. It's so silly. I
was not expecting that. Like, I know weird shit, but wow, okay.
Yeah, anyway, what I did was watch the anime sequel to Final Fantasy V.
Oh, okay. That's how it comes back to this.
Yeah, so I've known about this anime for a while. They, back in the 90s, made an anime that is basically, I don't know if you want to say a sequel, but it's a direct continuation of this world and its story, I guess. And I've heard about it. Visually, looks good. So I said, you know what? Why don't I watch it? I like Final Fantasy V. I don't know why. I guess YouTube had recommended me some Final Fantasy content and just made me want to go, finally knock this off my bucket list,
I guess. So when did you watch this? Because I don't remember you watching anything.
Well, that's because you go to bed like at 8 p.m. like some grandma.
I mean, I guess sometimes last night was 9 p.m., but sure, fine, whatever.
So when you're off, sleeping early, I'm staying up and being a naughty boy watching anime. So yeah, it's only like 4 episodes, so it's like 2 hours. But the funny thing is, well, for one, the translation in both of these games, like the original Final Fantasy V was never translated, well, originally not translated to English until much later. When it finally was translated into English for the PlayStation, it was a pretty bad translation. I think you saw one of the pictures when I was watching one of the videos, right?
Maybe. Which
they
one?
mistranslated Tonberry as Dingleberry.
Oh God.
And it's like, well, how, guys? Tonberry is an enemy that existed in previous Final Fantasy games. You should know what this thing is called.
Maybe it was a different translator.
So yeah, oops, he's a Dingleberry.
He's a
okay.
poop.
How's here's another funny one. Do you know what a wyvern is?
I mean, it's that. Is it the dragon that doesn't have feet in the front, or is it like
a wyvern is basically like a dragon, like a flying dragon that has like its two wings, right?
Okay, so I was right.
They translated it as the letter Y dash burn, wyvern.
Okay, I can kind of get why. I don't understand burn.
Because they must have read the katakana as wyvern, and they're like, what the heck is this? I don't know, wyvern.
Oh Jesus.
Anyway.
That's unfortunate.
Also,
oh, well, okay, this was back in the old days of translation, so they didn't give them fucking visuals of anything. It was just text.
They must have really rushed that translation. It must have been low priority for them. But
Yeesh.
one of the characters, Ferris, is a pirate, and she's an interesting character because at first when you meet her, you think she's a guy. And okay, this is like, again, Super Nintendo sprites. They're not super detailed. It's not like she has cleavage or something.
Yeah.
But they make jokes about it in the game. Like at one point, like Bartz goes in to wake her up, and he gets like a little blushing on his faces, and he has a little horror, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on? Is this?
Oh no.
Is he feeling gay feelings towards this pirate?" No, it turns out he must have saw some boobie or something.
Some booby.
It's very, very.
Not two boobies, one booby.
It's dated 90s humor. And at another point they're like, oh, we all got wet because we had to trudge through the water. Hey, Ferris, why don't you come over here with us guys, and we'll let Lena go over there and change, but we can all just take off our clothes by the fire here together.
Oh God.
And she's like, no. Anyway, that's besides the point. In this original translation of Final Fantasy V, Ferris talks like a pirate throughout the entire game. So she's like, "Arr, matey," and it's like a really
super cheesy.
It's really bad because she doesn't stay with the pirates for long. That's like when you meet her, and then eventually she joins you to go on an adventure, and like her pirate background doesn't really matter. But throughout the whole game, no matter what sad stuff happens, no matter when she learns, oh, I have a sister who's alive, or oh, one of our friends just got killed in front of us, she's always talking like a pirate. It's really dumb.
Well, maybe that's just her accent.
Anyway, in the other translations of the games, because luckily there have been new translations, they fixed a lot of that, and everything's better. Oh, another funny thing. Was this a fan translation? I forget who originally translated Bartz, because that's the main character's name, Bartz. Bartz.
Oh, that just sounds weird.
Sometimes you hear it translated as Butts. Buttz. So for some people, Bartz is just Butts, and like that's the guy's name, Butts.
I mean, you could say it's a code name, I guess.
So another important character in Final Fantasy V is Sid, because there's always a Sid in all these games. But in this version, Sid helps you build the aircraft or fix the aircraft or airship. And he has I forget if he's a grandson or nephew, but he has a little kid working with him, and his name is Mid. So you have Sid and Mid working with you to help build the airship or whatever, right?
Okay. His poor kid is Mid.
Yeah. For some reason, in this anime, I'm going to switch over to talking about the anime now.
Okay. You're going to confuse us all.
It's just funny. Canonically, the first thing that happens right after you finish, you beat the game, everyone's happy, yay, the world is saved. Some new evil thing comes down and immediately kills Sid in front of Mid. Wait, no. Did Sid die from old age? Yeah, I think Sid... Sorry. Sid dies, and they're burying him. He's like being lowered into the ground or whatever, right?
And then a meteor comes down and just obliterates his coffin.
This thing comes down, and he's like, oh, this is where Sid is. He's this great inventor. I want his brain. And then Mid is there, his like nephew or son or whatever. And Mid is like, what are you doing? That's my grandpa. Blah, you can't take his brain. And Mid, who's like this little kid, gets fucking lasered and killed. So he's trying to save his grandpa's brain from this alien monster. He gets lasered to death. And that's like the canonical end of Mid and Sid from Final Fantasy V.
Like how you can't figure out or can't keep track of their relationship. It's his son or his nephew. No, that's grandpa. Like, holy shit, pick one.
I think technically it's grandpa, but don't quote me on that. I just find it funny that like after you beat the game, And like,
No, don't take his brain.
after you beat the game, you get a happy ending. But like the writers of this anime is like, actually, right after all that happens, Sid dies, somebody comes to take his brain, and Mid gets fucking killed. And then I guess your party is just fine. They die of old age because this anime takes place 200 years later. This alien guy has taken Sid's brain because he wants to use his knowledge of the crystals to like reabsorb the crystals and take over the world. Blah blah. Who
Okay,
cares?
now I got another question. If Sid and Mid are in the game, right? Mm-hmm. But the anime is 200 years later, how is Mid still a kid?
Because Mid is dead. He comes back as a ghost.
So Mid dies, comes back as a ghost, and then get lasered?
No, Mid gets lasered, dies.
Yeah.
200 years later, the events of this anime start happening.
Okay.
So in this anime, we're following, and I wrote these names down because I would never fucking remember them. We're following Linali and Pritz. Those are the two new main characters. Linali is the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Bart's. And I guess, oh no, there's some disturbances. The crystals are being disturbed again, so we have to figure out why. So Linali and her dad, because I guess he's also descended from Bart's, they're going to go check on the wind crystal. And they meet up with Pritz, who's like, I don't know, just some generic anime boy who wants to be a hero, right? He's got a big old katana.
Yeah, that's super anime.
He's like the hero, and she's a summoner, but she doesn't really do much. Funny enough, the one time she summons something, it's a chocobo, sorry. And it's a naked chocobo. I've never seen a naked chocobo. Like, completely featherless.
That sounds either like a baby or getting prepared to be eaten.
Yeah, it's really funny. Also, Pritz rides a motorcycle, which is cool, I guess. The technology in this world is just, like, everywhere. People use the crystals to, like, power machines and stuff, and that's kind of what X-Death, the tree monster, was like. You guys are fucking up nature with all this stuff, so we're gonna kill you all.
And he wasn't wrong.
It's so weird. It's so goofy, but I love it anyways. Anyway, in the anime, the new evil guy who stole Sid's brain is using Sid's brain and like made it gigantic and like put it in this weird bio machine thing. He's trying to collect all the crystals to take over the world. So we have to find the wind crystal, and the wind crystal grows inside Linali. And so she's like got it inside her body for some reason. Here's another funny dumb thing for people who've played Final Fantasy V, which I know is not you, but bear with me. In Final Fantasy V, the Kingdom of Tycoon is like a generic Western castle town, right?
Capitalist society.
It's just like a castle, think of a medieval castle.
Okay.
For some reason, 200 years in the future in the anime, Tycoon is now like the Taj Mahal. And I don't understand why they made that choice. But okay, sure. And now Lena, who's named Lena, but not the Lena from the game, a descendant of Lena, is like ruling the Taj Mahal, and she doesn't do anything. She just stands around and acts sad. But so the kids go to collect this wind crystal.
Her job is emo.
And Lena has sent out her troops to be like, oh, guard the crystal because the other nations have lost their crystal and we can't let that happen to us. So you get this cool ass airship that comes and like sees the kids coming out of the wind temple and is like, hey, you got the crystal, you got to put it back. That doesn't belong to you. And then they get attacked by this pirate girl. Or not pirate? I guess she's a pirate. Her name is Rogue. Or is it Rouge? I forget if it's Rouge or Rogue. It's probably Rogue. And she's got like this sexy ass like latex dress on, so you know she's a fucking girl. She's not like Ferris. She's not being confused as for a guy. And her crew is all these fat ladies in like latex unitards. It's so weird. This show.
One, that's gross. Two, you know she's evil because she's super sexy.
This show is very perverted in the way that 90s anime is. Ugh. Like sometimes Lena, like because she has the crystal in her butt just glows with magic sometimes.
Did she get like a Brazilian butt lift and just put the crystal in there? Like, if it's in her abdomen or something, that doesn't mean her ass is gonna glow.
You know what's dumb, though? Skipping ahead a little bit, most of the time that crystal is inside Lena, but there is that one point in the story where it goes inside of Pritz, the guy, and his butt never fucking glows. Only hers.
No, you know what? His dick should have glowed.
Anyway, so there's like the big Star Wars evil emperor dude. I forget his name. The one who took Sid's brain is like, oh, you guys have the crystal. So he sends out a bunch of like robots on motorcycles that fly through the air, and they're like having this Star Wars shootout with Tycoon's airship, and it's really freaking cool because like just someone had a lot of fun drawing all those machines, and I love that kind of stuff.
Man, you are getting really energetic about this.
I'm trying to explain it in a way that's entertaining, but it's just so hard because it's an anime, so it's very visual. The story in this anime is fucking stupid. It's dumb as hell and barely in a fun way, but it was enough for I wanted to see what happened, and I wanted like the continuation of this story, right?
Yeah.
Because Mid is here because he's a ghost at some point. It's like, oh, Grandpa Oji-san told me to help you to protect the crystal from this guy whose name was Death Guinness, I guess. Is that what I wrote down? Let me check my notes. Yes, Death Guinness. I don't know what that means, but that's what his name is. Also,
maybe
the localization,
he had to come up with like a username, and that's
the
what he did.
localization in this anime, they didn't know who Sid was. Even though there's been Sids in every single Final Fantasy game, they thought Sid was Shido. So like you're just hearing everyone say Shido in the little subtitles. It's like it's Sid. It's Sid. This is Sid from the game. It's so silly. Anyway, eventually the evil emperor Death Guinness gets the crystal and goes to like this dark void, and they have to follow him in there. So they get like some dragon who looks like starts off as a little baby dragon and somehow like Pokemon evolutions itself up to like a big dragon. They take it and like attach their airships to him, and the dragon flies them into this dark moon where this guy looks like Death Guinness looks like they drew like an old man, a very wrinkly Jimmy Carter looking ass corpse man.
Oh my god.
But he's like attached to all these machines. It almost looks like Akira. Like for people who've seen Akira, like when he just goes into blob mode, it's just like this body horror with machines, and it's so cool looking. And he has all these like robots working with him, which is really weird because like the robots have their own language.
Okay.
I was trying to watch this in English at first, but the English didn't subtitle the robot language, so I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I switched over to watching in Japanese because at least they subtitled everything. They have to fight this Death Guinness old blob man who's attached to Sid's brain, which for some reason Sid's brain is now like the size of a freaking truck. I don't know what he did to this brain, but it's like gigantic now. They have like this final boss battle with this brain monster dude, and like Pritz has a sword and he's like attacking him with a sword. Varkas, which is the airship captain dude, he's got like 2 Uzis and he's just like shooting at everything. And Linali is a summoner, right? She's for the most part she's like playing the damsel in distress and needing to be rescued, blah blah, which kind of dumb. Because she's a descendant from bards, and I thought she was gonna do more. Well, she does eventually at some point help, and by the way she helps in the final battle against Death Guinness is she summons like just dozens and dozens of naked chocobos, and they all just fly at this guy like missiles.
Is it a special summoning of hers that they are naked, or does she just summon so badly that...
I don't know why they're naked. I can't think of any other time I've seen a chocobo be naked like that. Maybe they were working off the Final Fantasy IV sprite of the chocobo, and they're like, is this what they look like?
And
I don't
now
know.
I'm wondering, like, let's go weird for a second. Do the chocobos stay alive, or are they like apparitions or something? Or are they like real life chocobos? Because like I'm sure they would want her for food production.
I don't really know. Because like the first one she summoned to ride, it just disappeared at some point. And then she summons these in the fight against Death Guinness, and like they're just flying at the thing like missiles. Like you're just seeing chocobos like shooting across the screen and like yellow lasers into this thing and blowing up. And then that like mostly takes him down until all that's left is like just the guy's head, and then Pritz goes and slashes him with his sword and does his like anime pose afterward, all blows up. It's fucking wild. And the silliest thing too is like, I guess Mid is there helping too, even though he's a ghost, and he's like, I can't do much because I'm a ghost.
He's just shouting from the sidelines, go, go, go.
At some point, he's like, oh no, you guys gotta run. And he goes and distracts him, but like, he doesn't attack or anything. But at some point, he's like, because Death Guinness has put this, he's killed, I guess. He's like, yay, Grandpa Sid, I helped avenge you. Now I can rest in peace. I guess like he couldn't move on in his afterlife because he watched his grandpa's brain get like pulled out of the casket that he was being buried in. So he needed to have his revenge.
Be kind of horrific to see.
So finally, Mid is ascending to heaven or whatever, and all these fucking force ghosts of the past heroes are in the sky. Like at the end of Star Wars, where Luke is like looking up and there's Obi-Wan and there's my dad, except now dad is Anakin for some reason.
I thought you were going to say he's slowly floating up and he gets fucking lasered again.
Oh my god. But the weird thing is, like, just like in Star Wars, in the original... Oh my god, this is a tangent, but bear with me. In the original Star Wars, when Luke looks up and he sees Anakin, it's old man Anakin, because that's the Anakin that died, right? And he was redeemed, and like there's old Obi-Wan and old Anakin, and
he shouldn't have been redeemed.
And Yoda.
Is that a hot take?
Maybe. Oh, that's a whole other discussion. So yeah, you see old man Anakin,
yep,
Yoda,
yep,
Obi-Wan.
Yep.
They're in their Force Ghost form. They're all dead and they're loving it.
Gotcha.
This happens in Final Fantasy, the anime. I should have written down the name of this anime. The Legend of the Crystals, I think is what it's called. Mid is ascending to heaven, and there's Sid in his old man glory. He's blue and glowing like a Force Ghost, and he's like, "Yay, Sid, come with us." And there's also the 5 heroes from Final Fantasy V. So you see Bartz, you see Lena, you see Ferris, you see Galuf, you see Kryll, whatever that girl's name is. But they're like the young versions of themselves. It's like, what happened?
Maybe they died early.
Did they all die too?
It's possible. Well, okay.
If Sid is an old man ghost, then Bartz and the rest of them should be old people ghosts too. But they can't be because they have to be recognizable. And
not necessarily because, like, even in fucking Avatar: The Last Airbender, or not The Last Airbender, Avatar: Legend of Korra, Aang died pretty fucking young, whereas the other ones either are still alive or died old.
Here's a question then: if Sid is showing up as an old man ghost because that's what he died as, but the other ones who we can only assume lived, happy lives and died of old age, when they're Force ghosts, they did an Anakin thing where they're like, you know what, we don't want to be old people ghosts, we want to be our young hot versions of ourselves as ghosts. Then why didn't Sid do that?
Maybe he liked being old, I don't know.
Why didn't Obi-Wan do that?
Why can't you say that the fighters died?
No, you know what, George Lucas, why the hell did Obi-Wan not become a young ghost too? If Anakin got old, became young version in his ghost form, why didn't that happen to Obi-Wan as well? I know Luke would be like, who the fuck is that guy? But he would see Anakin in that form and be like, who the fuck is that guy? I recognize you, Obi-Wan. I recognize you, Yoda. But who the hell's this guy? And why is he laughing at me? Oh my god. These Force Ghosts. Final Fantasy and the Force Ghosts. That's what I did this week, okay? It was fun. It was fun and stupid, and I'm happy about it. And I'm glad I finally got to watch it.
Holy shit.
If you want to see some naked chocobos and a story that really doesn't make too much sense, and watch Sid, beloved Final Fantasy V Sid, be exhumed from his grave and taken his brain, like, manipulated into being some horrific monstrosity, then this is an anime you can watch.
God, I hope I can fix the volume on this episode.
Final Fantasy is a video game, and that is why this anime discussion fits into GameRomp.
Oh, but somehow last week when I was like, Final Fantasy won't fucking stop, that was somehow the hot take when you're like, this anime's fucking stupid.
It's stupid in a good way. Like, the art is really good. Especially the machines. I love all, like, there's the point where, like, they're having a Star Wars battle between, like, this weird alien ship and his, like, robots on motorcycles. And, like, Tycoon's airships. Tycoon has a big-ass airship that shoots out tiny little airship fighters. It's so cool. That was, I don't know, it's like, what is the technology in this world?
That sounds like the Russian doll of airships.
Pritz is running around with a sword, and, like, Varkas has, like, dual Uzis. It's weird. It's crazy. I love it. And I don't know. It's interesting to see that somebody decided that Sid had to die and come back as a brain and be taken away by some alien thing to become Death Guinness. Oh, and Mid had to die as a child. So if you want some child death in your stories, there you go. But don't worry, he became a ghost and got his revenge, and then he got to go live in ghost heaven with his grandpa. He never got to enjoy his own life, but hey, at least he's happily dead with grandpa and these other 4 people that he barely knew.
Okay.
Oh, man. Final Fantasy V is great.
If you say so. I mean, you certainly made it seem like an adventure, but however long it takes, I don't want to waste that time, so.
Yeah. Also, Varkas falls in love with Rouge, and there's a bunch of stories about, like, unrequited love, unrequited crushes. Everyone's crushing on each other, because, of course, it's anime. That's what happens. Oh, and at the end of the anime, Varkas, this, top general of the Tycoon Air Force, decides to run off to join Rouge's pirates. And he gets his own skin-tight latex outfit, and it looks goofy as hell. So, yeah, that's how you know you're a bad guy in anime, I guess. You just get to dress sexy.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of been a trope for the longest time.
There's a lot of tropes in this anime, but, that's kind of half the fun. I know there was another Final Fantasy anime that was not really well received, but, I mean, I guess maybe this one wasn't either. I'm not going to watch the other ones. I kind of want to see the movie, Final Fantasy Spirits Within, because that basically, like, almost killed Squaresoft back in the day.
The only one that I remember must have been back in 2003 or 4. It was some kind of Final Fantasy, I guess, movie, and it was like super 3D, and it was like their best graphics or something, but I don't remember what the hell it was called.
It might have been Spirits Within, unless you're thinking about the Final Fantasy VII sequel movie, which...
But I don't know.
I didn't like that either, to be honest with you.
I think I remember a scene about them being in a church or something.
That doesn't really help much. I mean, there's a church in Final Fantasy VII, so maybe it's that. Is there a church in Final Fantasy Spirits Within? I think that all takes place like in Mars or something. They're like in outer space.
But I don't know.
And like there's spirits.
I don't get into Final Fantasy, so.
Oh my god, what are we even doing with our lives?
I don't know, honestly.
Well, that was a discussion. We talked about trucks and we talked about Final Fantasy, or I guess
in anime.
Yeah, I yelled about anime for a while. Oh, and Star Wars.
Mostly because of the anime.
I just don't understand the logic of Force Ghosts. If you come back as you die, and you have to come back to help somebody. I don't know who.
I guess you would try to come back as whatever they knew you as.
Yeah, so
but otherwise, if you went through all your stages of life, maybe you don't want to be the old person. Maybe you want to go back to your hot body.
Yeah, that's what Anakin did. He's like, my son ain't gonna recognize me, but whatever. I want to look like this. At least that was the update made it look like.
That's what his choice was, I guess.
But does that mean, like, once you die and you join all these Force Ghosts up in space heaven or whatever, and you get to meet Grandma, she's not going to look like Grandma. Everyone's going to look like they're hottest in their 20s, and it's like, Grandma, what happened to you?
I mean, but then again, I have pictures of my grandma when she was like, it was like 1950, so I have some idea of what she looked like.
Yeah, that's true.
So it wouldn't be like, if you've seen pictures of them, it wouldn't be the biggest shock of your life.
I think it'd still be shocking to talk to a version of your grandma or parents who look the same age as you. Wouldn't that be weird?
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool, but whatever.
Anyway, this is really going off the rails.
Let's just stop now.
Yeah.
So,
this has been
if you enjoyed this conversation, let us know. Leave a comment wherever you happen to be listening.
Maybe we should watch more video game related media like anime or movies.
Did
we ever talk about the Super Mario movie?
Yeah, we had a whole episode about it.
No, not the good one. The new cartoon version.
Oh, the bad one.
Wow.
No. Well, you said good.
I know. I didn't know you were gonna play along.
Sure, we could do that if you want.
Yeah, that could be something. I enjoy talking about.
None of my games got made into movies.
Yeah, well, no one's gonna make a movie out of Truck Sim.
Well, not Truck Sim. Well, I mean, you could, but any of the other games I've played.
I wonder. Something to think about. Which of the games that you played would make good movies?
Banished? I mean, I guess you could say, to some degree, that could almost be The Witch, but maybe not.
The Witch was good.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I'm glad. I remember we watched that with when your dad was here and your grandma, and they didn't really seem to like it. or everyone's like, that was weird, but I was like, that was awesome.
Maybe that's a different discussion. So, we should go right now. So
Yeah, sorry.
We'll see
I'll
you.
shut up now.
We'll see you next week. Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.